Hey class, welcome back to Chapter 9, Probability. Today we will be looking at Exercise 9E, Venn diagrams. So, Venn diagrams are used in mathematics to display the relationship between different sets of data. The number of elements in a set, or each event, is listed within each section of the Venn diagram. We're going to try this with an example. We'll take a fake survey and we're going to see which people prefer AFL or NRL. So I start with my Venn diagram. I have two possible events, AFL and NRL. Okay, so those are my two events. I also put a box around it, and the reason for that will become apparent in a moment. It's not a very well drawn Venn diagram, but that's fine. We'll throw some random data points in. We're going to say in this made up class, 5 people like AFL, 3 people like both, 7 people like just NRL, and there are 4 people who don't like either of them, and that's why we put a box around, okay, because we have the event, like we did in our two-way diagrams, that some people don't like either sport, okay? Using now this quickly made up Venn diagram, we're going to calculate how many people like AFL and NRL. So if this was our class, what is the probability that I randomly selected a student in the class who likes both AFL and NRL? And a little box has come up in the bottom corner. When I use the word and, I'm using this symbol here, okay, so this one here. This means the intersection or both. The way I like to think of it is, it looks kind of like an N, okay, and the word and has like N in it, okay, so that's how I remember it. Okay, so what is the probability that they like both AFL and NRL? So when I look at the intersection of two events, I'm looking at who likes both. So I'm looking at that inside portion of the Venn diagram. Okay, so a total of 3 people out of, and we need to add them all up, so 5 plus 3 plus 7 plus 4 gives us 19. So we've got 3 out of 19 students in this particular made-up class like both AFL and NRL. 19ths don't simplify nicely, so we will just keep that as a fraction. Okay? We're now going to look at how many people like AFL or NRL. So again, quickly looking at that little bottom box. Okay, when I use the word or, I'm using this symbol, okay, which means union. Okay, and the way I remember that one is that it looks like a U, okay, U is a vowel, or starts with O, which is also a vowel. Anyway, that's how my brain remembers it. You will start to get used to the idea of intersection and union as well. So what is the probability that I select someone who likes AFL or NRL? Well, I'm now looking at, do they like AFL or do they like NRL? And that includes the people who like both, okay? Because if they like both, well, they like AFL and or NRL, okay? So I'm looking at the whole big section of that Venn diagram, okay? So what I have is a total of 5 plus 3 plus 7 is 15 out of 19. And again, that doesn't simplify, so we'll leave it as a fraction. Okay, if I was to select someone randomly from this made-up class that likes both likes either AFL or NRL, it doesn't really matter which one they like, they just watch one of those two sports. Okay, I have a 15 out of 19 chance of selecting a student in the class who likes that sport. Okay, finally, I want to look at how many people don't like either sport. Okay, so the way that we list that is we can write it a few different ways actually. We can write what is the probability that they don't like AFL. So we look at the complement. If we think back to that first exercise we did where we were looking at complementary events, and we indicate that with a little apostrophe like we did here. So we're looking at how many people don't like AFL and don't like NRL. Okay, I can also write this as what is the probability that, I can put the whole thing in brackets, so AFL, that's not an F, There we go. I can also write, and I'm writing two sets of brackets for a reason. Okay, we're looking at what is the probability that they don't like either of those. So that's two different ways to write the same thing, except here I put the apostrophe on the outside of that inner set of brackets. So I'm looking at either people who don't like AFL and don't like NRL, or I'm writing it as the number of people who don't like both of those, what we already did in B, but the opposite of that, so what's outside. And the way that we find that, and you will get used to the notation, I promise, is we're looking just outside of it, okay? So we're looking at everything outside of those two circles. If we introduced another circle, let's say we were looking at, I don't know, basketball, okay, or NBL, okay, I might include an extra sort of circle underneath here as well, okay? But really, I'm just looking at everything outside of those two circles, okay? Which is a total of 4 out of our 19 people. Okay, so 4 people don't like either sport. Okay, down the bottom we also have a quick note on subset, okay, which is another word you might encounter. Subset just means when a set is contained in another set. So in a Venn diagram, that might look like, let's say, everybody who liked NRL, let's say this is my AFL circle, okay, let's say NRL was here. Oop. I cannot write today. Right, let's say that everybody who liked NRL also liked AFL, that there were people who liked AFL and didn't like NRL, then we would call, in this particular case here, NRL a subset of AFL. And think of it like that less than or greater than symbol, okay? So the NRL group is smaller than the AFL group, if that sort of helps you remember which way, okay? There is also, you can write this in the opposite direction if you really would like. Okay, and we can write that AFL is a superset of NRL. So they mean exactly the same thing. We've just flipped the entire statement. Okay, so that is what that would look like. All right. Finally, on the next screen, and you can screenshot this if you would like, is a list of ways that we can write each event. So this would be A, not A, B, etc., etc. And they sort of get a little bit more complicated as you go down the page. So if you'd like to pause here and screenshot that for your own reference, that might be really useful too. Okay. As always, guys, good luck with the work. If you have any questions, let me know. But otherwise, take care, and I will speak to you all very soon.